Actually, you can walk behind it, and that'll be even better.
I'll carry it over.
Okay, and give it as much as it'll take. Okay.
My name is David Silverman, and I'm attorney to the protest. I want to be able to tell you why I protested Good Friday. For me, it's very personal. On August 6th, 1945, nearly 72 years ago, a nuclear weapon was detonated over Hiroshima, Japan. 1 year later, to the day, my grandfather, Max Silverman, received a certificate of appreciation signed by Henry L. Stimson, then Secretary of War, that acknowledged his participation, and I quote, in work essential to the production of the atomic bomb. Like most of the technicians and scientists who worked on the Manhattan Project, he was not aware of the goal of his efforts. Once the full magnitude of the bomb's devastating impact became known, did the realization of this weapon's awful potential sink into the mind and heart of my grandfather and many of his colleagues. My grandfather died before I was old enough to talk to him about the nature of his work, but my father told me of his regrets and worry about the future of humanity because of this terrible, destructive weapon. I was encouraged at a young age to do all I could to do work that would enrich and benefit mankind, rather than end in its destruction, and I pledged that I would. I protested on April 14th to continue my efforts to do so. I protested in the American tradition of committing acts of civil disobedience. After 1 million people engaged in what was to become the world's largest protest against nuclear armaments in New York City in 1982, The Nation magazine reported 27 years later that it was a good refresher course in the power of civil disobedience, deliberate, nonviolent violations of valid laws through which protesters invite punishment or injury to themselves in order to call attention to matters of overriding moral urgency. As carried out by the anti-nuclear protesters, the action was law-breaking in the spirit of the fidelity of law. And I believe that's exactly the point that I and a score of others were making this past Good Friday. By breaking the law, we were upholding its spirit and for the long-term greater good of mankind by doing what we believe would end the march to nuclear annihilation. I protested in support of my friends whose faith is based on religious principles, principles that are the underpinnings of modern civilization for all humanity. I protested because of my belief and faith in the human spirit to do what is right for the greater good of everyone. At times, however, certain course corrections are required to achieve that end, thus the action at Livermore National Labs on Good Friday. I protested because it is unthinkable to me that one person, without any oversight, can launch any number of cruise missiles while eating chocolate cake. Each missile capable of carrying at least 4 times the destructive power of the bombs that destroyed Hiroshima. Finally, I protested so that my grandchildren, their grandchildren, and succeeding generations of everyone's grandchildren can have the future free of the worry of the end of mankind. And I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much.